Hello and welcome, here are the Round 18 predictions. You know the deal, like and subscribe if you'd like to tag along with these videos for the rest of the year. First and foremost is Friday night's game between the Dogs and the Saints. Both teams disappointingly lost last week in what served as crucial fixtures. The Dogs conceded 15 shots on goal and 50 points in the first quarter, and the game was lost just like that. They lacked potency going forward, and the times they did score, it was at a time where the game had died down and scoring was merely consolation. The Saints were very good for the best part of a half, matched the Dockers in many facets of the game. They lost a grapple in the second half, and it couldn't be much further from what they dished up earlier on in the game. They looked a shadow of themselves and would consider that game one that got away. Both sides are looking into the 8 now, and this game is an 8-point game in essence. The Bulldogs may be regaining some forward line structure at last, with Bruce awfully close to a return, whilst the Saints are still suffering from many absences that overall enhance their team. I'm going to back the Bulldogs. I think Bruce returning could make the Bulldogs a more sound football side. Also, Bailey Smith, remember that guy, he's back too. Good luck St Kilda, I think the Dogs have this one. Next is the Crows taking on the Pies. The Crows adopted a similar model to the Dogs in terms of a poor start. They were down by 5 goals at quarter time and the margin didn't alter from that point. I'd be lying if I said I watched this, but the Crows just seem a little boring. There's no standouts, Lead racks them up, Crouch and Kays do the same, but where's the flair? The forwards are hit or miss, the backline are much the same. The Pies very much escaped last week. They should consider themselves lucky North Melbourne were their opposition, otherwise 4 points would have been lost. Having said that, despite the win, much needed percentage was missed out on, and could catch up to them later this year when it's all said and done. You can't go past Collingwood here, sure they've scraped by with some wins in recent weeks, quite unconvincing, but the Crows don't match their level, and with Darcy Moore seemingly returning, that'll make the Crows' forward woes even worse. Next is GWS versus Brisbane. GWS felt the force with injuries and an embarrassing scoreline. 3 goals 11 is a diabolical scoreline, not really a standout player. Disgusting. Hopper should be in line to play for his first time in a long time. However, wait till you see who Brisbane have coming back. A revamped backline from last week, Rich, Zorko, Andrews, the big names returning. Credit to them for having half of their best 22 out and nearly getting across the line. We're always within an arm's reach, but never got over the hump. The unanimous decision here is a Brisbane victory. You can't look past both teams' performances last week and see the level at which these teams are at. The 4:35 fixture is North Melbourne Richmond, and I have to say, why sack David Noble right as you displayed your best performance in a long time? Sure, the new manager bounce is a thing, but is it really going to make a difference to an outcome? Richmond have reinforcements on the way. You have to wonder how they lost from the position they were in with a minute and a half to go last week. A complete defensive breakdown. Absolutely baffling to me. Look, I'll give North some credit. Larkey was excellent taking advantage of a weaker Collingwood defence. Zebel was strong in the air. Davies-Uniacke stood up well, yet still no cigar. Richmond will win, missing Lynch, but inclusions will far outweigh the outs. Game of the round here, between Carlton and Geelong. Carlton played 2 quarters last week and won by 10 goals. Discussed on the channel already, but the standard of their best and worst, the difference is astronomical. The Cats won on home territory against Melbourne. Everyone chipped in, players delivering at key moments all over the ground. Ken Guthrie has been consistently excellent in recent weeks, especially coming off the bye, and their backline handled the demons well, with constant organisation, and the D's unable to navigate through it. I think you'd have to back Geelong here for the victory, but the discussion as to whether Geelong can handle Carlton's tall timber in Kerno and Harry without Tom Stewart is a great discussion point. I think it'll be an entertaining and highly offensive match, but I think when it matters most, Geelong won't falter, and the Blues have shown vulnerability in this scenario, so Geelong's class will rule. Other Saturday night game is Fremantle Sydney. What a night of footy. The Dockers got brilliant output from smalls, talls, midfielders, everyone in the second half to rectify what was a slow start. The Swans were superb, dominated territory, looked like a brick wall defensively, and their rebound off half-back was a sight to see. At their best when they operate in this way. The Dockers have knowingly created a fortress at Optus Stadium, and I think it'll be hard to go past them here. Put together their second half efforts last week into all 4 quarters and they are tough to manage. Darcy could also get a hold this week, with Sydney's ruck situation looking a bit dire due to injury. On top, they still have best 22 players returning that'll find it incredibly tough to find a place in this week's side. Sydney's inconsistency and failure to put away worse off sides at times this year is the major concern for mine, as it flags vulnerability. Hawthorn will verse West Coast on early Sunday Arvo footy. The Hawks, majorly impressive early in their game last week. Mitch Lewis started like a house on fire. They did need to show a little resistance in holding the Crows off, but it wasn't anything too fancy. The Eagles scored 7 goals, 3 in one quarter, and scored 8 total points in the other 3. Go figure. How on earth does that occur? In what I believe was a 103-year first. That game last week was ultimately a 1 step forward, 2 steps back type moment. This is a really tough game to pick. Terrible MCG form aside, the Eagles surely can't perform as poorly as they did last week for 3 quarters. I'd be no way in hell surprised if the Hawks won, but I can't discount what the Eagles did for a stretch over 3 or so weeks, and I can see a win surfacing here. Melbourne play the Power in Alice Springs on Sunday Arvo, and the Power benefited tremendously from some great inclusions last week. The Demons were overwhelmed and lost to the Cats. The D's didn't seem to have a plan on Thursday night. A lot of blind kicking forward to a well set up Geelong defence created the recipe for a low score, and thus a negative result ultimately. I think this game could be really interesting. The Power could opt to bring in Lysett for a more physical look to have a crack at Melbourne's ruck tandem, whilst the D's could be missing Clayton Oliver with a thumb injury. I believe the D's have a strong record at this ground, and they should bounce back. Port's ladder position could be a little bit stiff on how they actually can perform, yet I think whilst they'll be challenged, Melbourne will get out of this game on top. Last game of the round is a cracker. The Bombers, who have picked up in form, play the Suns at home. The Suns, whilst results won't show, could have easily held the same win streak as the Pies had it not been for some narrow losses. They were finally on the right end of a close game last week, and it would seem they learnt from previous experience how to kick ahead from a deficit in the final minutes. Noah Anderson with a composed moment in a pressured scenario kick truly. The Bombers, gotta give them credit. A couple wins back-to-back against very good sides. Last week's less impressive, but to go to Brisbane and fend off serious heat and an unrelenting side from kicking ahead, major props. The Bombers' recent form gives me plenty of reason to back them in as they are a revamped side, but the Suns have done so for a more prolonged period, and I'll back them in to get the victory away from home. That'll be it from me. Hope you enjoyed this one. Share your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.